Ayodele. Ayodele Seriki is a DevOps engineer, adept at orchestrating scalable systems, automating workflows, and ensuring seamless software delivery. She's also a computer engineering alumnus of the prestigious University of Lagos, and her professional experience has spanned across reputable companies like She Code Africa and Damius, and she currently works at Paystack as a DevOps engineer. At Paystack, she manages infrastructure on AWS using Terraform, Kubernetes, and other AWS services, amongst other impressive tasks. Sometimes she writes documents, sometimes Ayodele documents her tech journey through Twitter and technical articles. And so you might have come across her once or twice while browsing through the Twitter tech space. And so I'd like to say a very good morning to you, Ayodele, and welcome to this session. Okay, I just noticed that we lost Ayo on the line, and so we're going to give a few moments for her to join back. And while we wait on her, you could begin to think about the questions that you'd like to ask her on this topic so that we can prepare to have those once we have her on board, right? So I will go off screen for a moment as we try to contact Ayodele. Have her back. And so let me say another good morning to you, Ayo, and welcome to our ECX soft skills session.
Hi, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. We're happy to have you on board. Your resume is quite impressive, and we've heard about it. Presently working as a DevOps engineer at Paystack. How is it like working in such an environment?
It's very, I mean, it's a lot of things. The company culture is great. If we go into specifics about my role, it's a mix of being challenging and exciting. So yeah, it's just a mix of different emotions.
Great, we're happy to hear that. And so, coming from a computer engineering background at a Nigerian university, how would you see yourselves fitting into the tech space, or how have you fit into the tech space so far?
Coming from a Nigerian university, I feel like even like right from school, the tech community was like the presence was like very strong. I think like yeah, because we're Nigerians, we push a lot for these things. So I think like I've just always been involved, even without myself realizing one way or the other. I've just always been involved.
All right. Thank you very much. And so this morning, the topic that we have selected for you is mastering team dynamics, becoming a standout team member. And we're pretty sure that throughout your career, you've worked in different teams, whether it be at Paystack, where you currently work, or Shicode Africa and Damius. And
Yeah.
so at this point, we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear your insights on this topic.
Oh, cool. Um. Give me a few seconds. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I can't see the chats while I am presenting. So if you have any questions, you can drop it in the comment section and I'll get back to it. Okay. Okay, let me turn on my camera. Uh, okay, hi everyone. Good morning. I hope I am clear and everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
Oh, okay. So my name is Ayodele Seriki. Um, I'm a DevOps engineer at Paystack. I'm currently contributing to the success of Paystack, and today I will be talking to us about mastering team dynamics and being an excellent team player. And quickly, this is a bunch of subtopics we'll be going over. So we'll be going over leading by example, influencing skills, team dynamics, understanding roles and strengths within a team, and mentoring and coaching. Um, and just quickly before we start, I will start with a story. So in my second year at university, I had like challenges with my grades. So my grades were not horrible, but they weren't just meeting my standards. So I remember one particular day after my grades had just come out and I was feeling a lot of frustration. So I had a mentor back then. And so I called her and I started to rant about how tired I was of, trying and not getting the grades that I want. And just a bunch of problems that I had to rant about. And then she asked me what I think are the blockers, what I think are the things stopping me from getting the grades that I would like to get. And I thought, good question, because I have a bunch of lists about the things stopping me from getting the grades I want. As I went on with my list, there was the lecturers not showing up in class. There was the exam questions not being what I was taught. I just had a long list of the different problems. There was no electricity for me to even study at night, so the government was even involved in my problem. So I went on with this list. I went on telling her what my blockers were, and then she asked me a very important question, which probably changed the way I faced my academics from that point. She asked me if, there were other people getting A's in these courses that I had blockers in and that had the same resources that I had. I said, yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? And then she asked me, she said, so there are people that have A's in these courses that you're having problems with, and they have access to the same, same problems, no lecturers coming to class, exam questions being somehow. And then she said, I see what the problem is. You yourself, you're not on that list. So she was insinuating that I myself, I'm also a problem, but I'm not on my list of problems. And while I was gathering this slide, that story really came to my mind because I thought about it. If at that point I had a bunch of people to lead or mentor to get good grades, which I wasn't getting, I probably tell them to do the same thing I was doing, and they'll probably end up getting mediocre grades like I was getting. And that brings me to the next slide, self leadership and leadership. So, previously, when I've ever thought of leadership, I've always thought of it in a very generic sense, like you're a leader, and like that means you're commanding people, or like you're a manager, or you just have control over people to tell them what to do and they have to do it. But have you ever thought of self leadership? Because looking at it in that case, she mentioned that I was a problem that for myself and I wasn't on that list. And if you think about it, it's true because if I had not self-reflected, if I did not have any self-leadership, how do I expect to lead other people, right? And so this is my favorite definition of leadership and self-leadership. Leadership and self-leadership is challenged to be something more than mediocre, and it refers to the ability of individuals to effectively manage themselves, their behaviors, emotions, and actions to achieve their personal and professional goals. And from this talk, I want us to have a bunch of things in our mind, like your current, what currently comes to your mind when you think about leadership, and what it's going to be at the end of this conversation. And like I said, I've always thought about it to be generic because I've never really thought about leadership in a very personal sense. I've always just been like, yeah, they're just like my lecturer is my leader. I just tells me to do my assignments and I have to do that. It's just in a very bullyish kind of sense. So yeah, let's talk about leading by example. So I have three of my best points for this. First, it's about being authentic, taking responsibility for your actions, and being ambitious in your pursuits. And I'm going to quickly touch down on each of these points. So being authentic. Authenticity is magnetic and it inspires other people to be genuine as well. And that just means like being yourself. And in this little visual that I have here, it says do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. That's what it means to be authentic. And we acknowledge the fact that authenticity might not always be great. Like where you currently might be might not be the best version of yourself. You might not be the kindest person. You might not be the most empathetic person. But the good thing about these things is that they are skills, right? They are not talent. So it means you can learn. You can learn to be kind. You can learn to be empathetic. For example, kindness can be something as small as saying, okay, this week I'm going to tell one of my classmates that they look nice. Every week I'm going to do that. It could be just that easy. And before you know, it starts to compound and you find out that you're a kinder person at the end of the day. Taking responsibility for your actions. We often hear the phrase actions speak louder than words, and it couldn't be truer when it comes to leadership and standing out. Because it's what you can tell people that you will do something, but they don't really care about what you say. They care about if you've done it or not. For example, let's say you are working on a team project in class and you have shared your parts of the project. And then for your own part, it's getting close to the deadline and your teammates are asking you, what's up? Are you done with your part? Submit so we can all submit. And you tell them, oh, I'll be done tomorrow. And then they come back to you tomorrow and you're saying, oh, I had a bunch of things, excuses, I'll be done tomorrow. And the next day, you just keep procrastinating. And you might even eventually submit. Yeah, you might actually meet the deadline, but it just gives them a sense of feeling that they can't really trust you with those things, right? So they start to feel like, okay, maybe this is something they can't really trust you with. And although this might seem like something very minute and something not worth noting, but it also affects you because it means that you are telling yourself that you can't really trust yourself. It means that you're telling yourself that it's okay to procrastinate. But imagine a scenario where you say, okay, I'm going to study from this time to this time, and then you actually do it. It builds a sense of trust subconsciously with yourself instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to read from this time to this time, and then you don't do it. You just easily procrastinate. You don't take responsibility for the things that you're supposed to do. Subconsciously, you just don't even realize that you're losing trust with your own self. So how are you going to build trust with other people? Then the third point, be ambitious in your pursuits. So I want us to ponder on these questions. I feel like whys are very important. We need to ask ourselves like, why pay the price? Why work this hard? Why go this far? Why try to learn this much? Why study? Why even put yourself out? Why develop yourself to the fullest? Why try to become all that you can possibly be? Why go to every class? There are so many whys. You have to have your own list of whys, like work on your list of whys. If your goals are not strong enough and your vision is not clear, it's very hard to be ambitious. And a favorite speaker of mine is Jim Rohn. And it makes a point to be saying that if the why is powerful enough, the how is easy. And this goes to just suggest that if you know why you are doing a thing, if you know the greater good that it's going to bring to other people and yourself, the how is easy. You don't even need to go about asking yourself, how am I going to do this? You just need to know why. And if you really think about it and self-reflect on the whys that you are doing the things you are doing now, it will reveal a whole bunch of other things to you. Next, let's talk about influencing skills. And yeah, I have four of the best points I could come up with. So we'll talk about embracing challenges, learning from failures, staying curious, and keep growing, then believing in the power of you. So embracing challenges. Challenges are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones to growth. They are opportunities to learn, adapt, and emerge stronger. And I like to talk about like in terms of like failures and challenges and things like that because I have a lot of personal experience with this and just wanting problems to go away, not wanting to having to deal with it. But if you think about it, the fact that you're able to get to the points that you are, you're able to get an admission into school, you're able to get good grades because you have embraced challenges. Being in Unilag alone is a huge challenge on its own. And the fact that you've agreed that, okay, I want to be a student here is because you decided to embrace that challenge. So it's nice when things go well, but if you never make mistakes, how will you grow? Growth comes from hardship, it comes from being in a hard place, it comes from making mistakes. You have to make mistakes to grow. There is no other way around it. Then learning from failures. I mean, it's okay to fail as long as you are failing forward. That means as long as you are learning from your mistakes, as long as you are reflecting on it. There is a simple exercise I do. So at the end of every week, I just try to ask myself what went wrong, what could have gone better. And that's very powerful because we never actually take out the time to calm down and think about how our days, our weeks, our months are going and what could have gone better. So failure is not the end, it's a part of the journey. You can turn setbacks into comebacks. So there's so much you can do with failure. There is so much inspirational stories about failures that we can learn from. Almost all the great people we look at now, they failed in one way or the other. In fact, even us right now, growing up, when you were learning to walk, you fell a lot. That's a form of failure. But eventually you started to walk and then you started to run. Then stay curious and keep growing. This is just very essential in life. Always have to be very consistent with your learning. You have to be very excited about your learning. And learning is like a continuous loop. It happens for the rest of your life. I used to think when I was in school, I used to say, oh, all this studying is a lot, and I don't even care about the things I am studying. I don't have like a form of, they're so abstract. There's no form of emotional attachment to the things that I am learning. But I've come to realize that life after school, you even have to study even more because we are brought on this earth without a manual, and then there is all this historic information that's been passed down to us, which are some sort of manuals, and you have to study these things to understand the earth that you live in, to understand yourself, to understand the people around you. So you have to continue to stay curious and continuously grow, be a lifelong learner, and just adapt to the ever-changing landscape because we're forever evolving in this world. We're forever changing in this world, and you just have to be at the top of that game. Especially in your field, even in school, you have to be at the top of the game. Then believe in the power of you. So we are slaves to our own vision. You dream small, there's only so far you can get. You dream big, you can probably get farther than you think. And self-belief, if you believe in your abilities, your potential, and your unique qualities, that makes you a leader. And imagine you want to be a leader. That means you have to believe in somebody else. If you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to believe in somebody else? And even in this world, there are a lot of people that won't even believe in you. And it has to start from you. Mostly in this world, people really care about results more than the things that you say or the things that you have to bring. They care about your results, like, okay, are you eventually great? And so for you to even get there, it starts with you believing in yourself. You can't, have a pity party for yourself and just be waiting for someone to believe in you, have faith in you. You have to start from yourself. Then let's talk about team dynamics. So communication, the glue of team dynamics. We're going to talk about collaboration. We're going to talk about our differences, how our differences are our greatest strengths, and fostering a growth mindset. So let's talk about communication, which is the glue of team dynamics. So, of course, none of this is possible without effective communication. Communication is the glue that holds teams together. It's how we share our ideas, it's how we express concerns, and ultimately, it ensures that everyone is on the same page. Good communication will foster trust, it will pave the way for success, basically. But the thing about communicating is that most of us mostly just listen to reply. In fact, I personally, back in the days, in my old ways, because I have changed now, when I'm having a conversation with a person, I realize that midway, while they are making their own point, I'm already thinking of what I am going to respond with midway. That means we're not really getting anything from the conversation. And it's very likely that if I am doing that, the other person is also not really listening to me. They're already thinking of what they are going to used to respond to what I am saying. So some people listen to reply and some people listen to understand. So communication is mostly listening. I mean, imagine the wealth of knowledge you could get from just keeping quiet and listening to what another person has to say, especially in when we have like conflicts or disagreements. We just want to, put all of our points out there and just be done with it. We don't want to hear the other person's side of the story. But imagine the wealth of information. Imagine how much better the conversation could go if we listen to people before we if we listen to people and we could make well informed decisions and in our response to whatever they have to say, right? Then collaboration over competition. And this is not just a in a working environment kind of thing. Team is Having a team is not just in a working environment 9 to 5 kind of setting. Everyone around you is kind of like a team, from your parents to your siblings to your classmates. They're all your teammates, because one way or the other you have to work with them, you have to make decisions that involves them. And so there is a lot of power in collaboration compared to trying to do things by yourself. And this is one of the beautiful aspects of team dynamics. Ellen Keller famously said, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. When we come together as a team, we have the ability to achieve feats that would be impossible on our own. And some of us like to think that we can do everything by ourselves, that we don't need anybody. But yeah, most times you need people, because you need a lot of guidance. I mean, it's easy to say I want to learn um thermodynamics and buy the textbook and read the whole thing. And it's even easier for somebody to tell me, okay, this is what you need to know in the textbook, rather than me reading everything and not even really getting the necessary information, because now it's information overload. Our differences are our greatest strengths. But here's the thing, effective collaboration isn't just about working with people who are exactly like us. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's quite opposite compared to that. Diversity. Whether it's diversity in background, whether it's your perspective, your skill set, that's what really makes you powerful, right? And for example, me personally, there was a point in my life where I used to feel like people are just so weird, right? Because you could be a certain type of me and somebody could be very, very different from me, and you just wonder like, why is this person like this? But what we fail to consider is their background, their diversity, their strengths, where how they were brought up, where they were brought up from. We don't consider those things because we are very, very diverse and different in that way. No two people can even be exactly alike. Even twins born on the same day, most times they are mostly different, right? So our differences are our greatest strengths, because if you see it from that point of view, you could learn so much from another person. I mean, there are situations where we've met people and we just be like, oh, I just like how this person studies, I like how this person, handles themselves. Those are differences, and those are things you could learn from. You could see it from a learning point of view rather than from a envious point of view. Then foster a growth mindset. I cannot emphasize how important this is. So a fixed mindset is feeling like, oh, I already know everything that I need to know. And a growth mindset is feeling like, what more can I know? Like join with what I already know. Right. And it's so important in terms of working in a team and in terms of, building a team and in team dynamics, because once you have a growth mindset, there is more space for you to grow. You have more space to let things in. And once there's a fixed mindset, it's just like arguments once again. Because you feel like you already know all the facts, you already know everything, and that is what must be. So like in terms of arguments, mostly because we have fixed mindset, we're just like, nah, there's nothing you want to say that is going to change how I feel. But it's so powerful to be in a conversation or in an argument and be very strong about your points and be arguing on that point, and then realize midway that, oh, I'm wrong, and then tell that person, oh, I think I'm actually wrong and you're right. I hardly ever see that happening. But yeah, it's very powerful to be that kind of person that is willing to say, oh, I think I'm wrong and you're right, and I change my mind about what I said. Then let's talk about understanding roles and strengths within a team. So again, my three best points. So it starts with self awareness. Take time to get to know your teammates and be a team player. Let's go to the next slide. So self awareness is, knowing your own self before you start to want to know another person. In fact, think of a team like a puzzle. Each puzzle is unique and it serves a specific purpose. But when they come together, they create something greater than the sum of its parts, right? Similarly, within a team, each member possesses their own skills, talents, and strengths. But here's the kicker, to be honest. Not everyone's strength is the same. And that's a good thing, because imagine how boring the world would be if everybody was just like you. So our differences is what actually makes us stronger. And self-awareness is, reflecting on yourself with empathy instead of judgment. So it's like if you do something that is wrong and then later you're in a better place where you know better, it's being able to say, oh, I was wrong about that, I can do better, instead of just saying, oh, I'm so silly, I was wrong about that, why am I so clumsy? So self-awareness with empathy is what really makes it powerful. Then know your teammates. So this for this one, we have to try to, if you are normally introverted, we have to try to, normalize knowing people, especially teammates, especially when you are new in a place. For example, like when you just got into university, your first year, the best thing would be to take some time to know the people that you are going to be spending the rest of your stay in university with. Because it just makes sense to know, to learn all that you can before you eventually leave school. For someone like me, when I just got to school, I did not talk to anybody. I was just on my own. I had about one or two friends. But later in my journey, luckily for me, I started to come out of my shell and I started to know my classmates and people. And you see, it reflects with work too, because at your workplace, you can be somebody that does not talk to anybody, that doesn't want to, be friendly, just wants to do your work and go. But really, and this is also the power of networking, because you never know what you can get from a person. You never know the role that a person could play in your journey. So my visual year says if you go alone, you go faster, and if you go together, you go further. Because using the example of the textbook, you could read the old textbook and not get anything. But it just takes one person to say, oh, just read that, and just read this. I'm sure we've experienced this when preparing for exams. Like you might be reading off point and somebody just says, oh, read this one, and the next day you just see the exact question in your exam. You're so grateful for that person, because the person stopped you from, just reading overnight, reading off points, and you just read a little piece, and that really helped you. So be a team player. So there's so much you can accomplish with people. Like, just to touch down on the points that I've previously made, there's so much that you can accomplish with other people. Don't try to just be an island. They say nobody's an island. There's so much. And when you start, applying for jobs, the one common thing you will hear is networking. It's like, no people, just forget all these applications to jobs. Not my words. Just know people, just network, and you can get in. And which is true in most cases. Like some influential parents, all their children don't even need to search for jobs. They'll just be like, that's my dad, this is my child, you have the job. Like, that's just where it ends. So be a team player, because you don't know what you can accomplish together. And this means, showing kindness, being the kind of friend, being the kind of person that you want others to be. You cannot want other people to pay attention to you when you don't pay attention to them. You cannot expect people to pour into you what you've not poured into them. Now let's talk about mentoring and coaching, and I think we're almost at the end of my slides. Um, so three solid points again. So this is in terms of, you know um the two sides of the coin. It's like getting a mentor and a coach. What should you look out for? And you yourself being a mentor and a coach. So if you imagine a journey towards success, it's not always a straight path. There are twists, there are unexpected obstacles along the way. But having a mentor or a coach by your side is like having a trusted guide who lights the way through the darkness. So mentoring and coaching are just about imparting knowledge and giving advice. They are also about, nurturing potential, unlocking your hidden talents, and empowering people to reach their fullest potential. Now, some of you might be thinking, but I'm just a student myself. How can I possibly, be a mentor or a coach? But here's the thing, you don't have to have all the answers to be a coach. Sometimes it could just be you having a listening ear just giving somebody a word of encouragement or giving somebody a gentle push in the right direction. Also, back to the example I gave, the person that is able to tell you, oh, like this is just what you need to know, this is what you need to study, not the whole textbook. That's the person being a mentor and a coach in some sort of way. And I know in one way or the other in our lives, we've been that to another person. So my 3 points, let's dive into it. So why be mentored or be one? Because it's just easier to not figure out stuff by yourself. I'll give an example. At the start of my DevOps journey, I had a roadmap. In fact, I listened to like a lot of YouTube talks about what to do, how to start, how to get into the game, and things like that. And I had a roadmap, and the roadmap was um learn this in this area, learn this in that area. So it was pretty clear. But the thing was that I did not realize I did not need to know everything at once. So when I started off with my journey, I was a lot there was a lot of like feeling overwhelmed and just feeling exhausted all the time. But luckily for me, I got into a mentorship program where I was paired with a mentor to be a mentee to them, and they were able to help me figure out what I needed to know, the most important things, and things just became clearer. And that's when I came to realize, and in the context of my own struggles, I came to realize that knowing one thing opened up the door for me to know other things. Like, I don't need to know everything I want. I don't need to watch a video for this and this and this. Like, once I know this, it's easy to relate with the other things. And that's just how it is having a mentor. Like, it just makes things easier. It just And some of us might feel like, oh, I'll learn it by myself. I'll watch this video. But I mean, it works for some people like that. But if you do feel like you need a mentor, there are so many people in the world willing to help people. Like, for different reasons, because they want to feel good about themselves, because they are genuinely good people. There are so many people that want to help people. There are people that are where you want to be, that have done what you want to do. So it just makes sense to reach out and ask, how can I do it? How can I be this way? And even aside from from looking for people, let's talk about books for a second. Because right now in this generation, we don't read like the previous generation used to read. It's like you want to be a leader. There are books about leadership. Have you read anyone? There are like a million books about leadership. Have you read anyone? You want to communicate better. Have you read a book about communicating better? Like, there are just so many resources laid out there. And we just say, oh, I want to get better, but we never really take any action towards it. Next, giving and receiving feedback. This is very, very essential because progress, when measured, becomes better. And if you don't measure your progress, you wouldn't really know what you are doing. And getting feedback, receiving feedback is kind of like touchy because some people don't like to step on other people's toes. In fact, previously my worst time of the year used to be expecting feedback from colleagues at work because they tell you, oh, you're not doing this one. I'm like, me, how can I not do this well? Like, like, how can I not do this well? That, my ego just plays games. And it's very important to receive feedback because that's how you know when you think about it. And constructive feedback is what I mean, not people that just want to attack you because they hate you for reasons known to themselves. And giving and receiving feedback, you should be able to give people the same way that you receive from them. So you should be willing to look at it and think about it, fight with it, like with yourself, and think about it like, is this true, is this accurate, do I really need to improve in this area of my life? And if you see that it's true, acknowledge it. Just stay with the feeling. You don't have to feel good about feedbacks. You might feel bad, but it does not mean your life is bad or everything is bad for you. It's just a feeling. It's something you can just observe, let it pass, do better. Then you accept it and then you change it. You start to make small steps. You can reach out to the people that gave you the feedback. Okay, and mostly that's constructive feedback. They tell you what you did wrong and how they think you can do better. You can do your own research on how you can do better too. And then empowering independence. And this is the role of mostly the mentor, because the aim of mentorship should really to be to, eventually help you to be able to stand by yourself. And let me use myself as an example also. So while I was doing my internship, I had a mentor, very amazing guy. In fact, it was like when we had any bug at work, he knew everything. And I was just like, this guy just knows it all. And that made me really lazy because he was always willing to help. Like the smallest bug I had, I'll just go crying to him like, please, please just fix it, let it disappear. Like I was always like that. And eventually he had to leave the company and I was by myself. And in fact, when he told me he was leaving, I was like, oh my, I will not follow you like this because I'm not sure what I'm doing at this point in my life. So I was very scared when he was leaving because I wasn't sure I was going to stand by myself. And it was so bad that even after I left, I would still eat him up in his different place of work to up on calls with me to fix bugs at my current workplace. It was just that bad. And eventually he said, hey, yeah, you have to, you're on your own. Don't call me anymore. And it was very difficult. I was like, like my own has finished. But I mean, it was really good. It was really good because it helped me to leave my comfort zone. It helped me to, I had to accept the current situation. And there was a lot of struggles. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of confusions. Everything that you think would happen. There was a lot of maybe this field is not for me. Maybe I should just do something else. Maybe I should, do something easier. There was a lot of, there was even in between, there was a lot of like giving up and quitting and just being like, I'm not doing this anymore. But the thing is that eventually I saw the light, luckily for me, and I was able to stand by myself. And even till now, it's still a struggle, but it's a profitable struggle because I know that eventually it will get better. And yeah, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, with these few points of mine, I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. What a session that has been, Ayo. Thank you very much for those encouraging words. I personally did take a lot of that from that discussion. And
Mm.
so before we go any further, I'd like to find out if there are any questions from the audience. You could include them in the chat box. You could raise your hand and you would be recognized to ask your question. But okay, have a hand. Daniel Oladepo, can you go ahead with your question?
My question is, I just wanted to ask about the program that she mentioned about that paired up a mentee with a mentor because that is something that would really be of help to me in my tech journey currently. And sorry,
Okay.
secondly, I don't know if she's willing to be a mentor to me.
Are you willing to pay? Okay, just kidding. But your first question. So fortunately
Only
and
with my commitment and
unfortunately,
hours.
fortunately and unfortunately, it was a female only tech program. It was She Code Africa for every female that is on the call. They are very open to that. But aside from that, I know that there are several programs that offer that. And even depending, they go as far to be specific to the technology. For example, if I was learning Linux from Linux Foundation, they have a program for that. If I'm learning Kubernetes, they also have a program for that. So it requires for you to research. I don't know personally for like I only know like She Code Africa right now off the top of my head. But I'm sure if you do a little bit of digging, there is a lot. And as for mentoring, yeah, no comments, I guess. I'm not sure. I've not really dived into that area. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
No, I didn't get you said as regards mentoring. I can get your contact from the team later or what?
Well, it depends on what you want, to be honest. I can provide you guidance, I mean, to come as far as I have come. But yeah, that'll probably be about it. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. And as regards cloud computing, AWS, yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
All right. We have another question from Elias Aribisala.
Yes, good morning. Sorry, I have a question for Ayo. I want to on the part of mentorship. I think I did not get very well. What are the personality? What are the stuff you should look out for? Is it the personality, the skills, the expertise of the person, or the ability of the person to be a ground mentor? Because I don't know if that is what you should actually look out for. Is it how skillful they are, how impactful they are, or what their personality is like when looking out for a mentor. Hope you get me right.
Yeah, yeah. So I think my slides will be available to everyone after, just for you to get specifics. But just off the top of my head, yeah, those are all things to look out for. I mean, you want your mentor to be somebody that is where you want to get to, or even further from where you want to get to normally. But yeah, those are just things to look out for. And this mentor doesn't have to be somebody you know. To be honest, this could be somebody that you just see their LinkedIn profile and it's impressive to you. And you just followed, maybe they post and you just follow, like, okay, like, yeah, this is impressive. And before you know, subconsciously, you just start to tune your own self. It's what you consume in your mind that reflects in your life. So you just start to see yourself, doing things kind of in that manner. So you look out for all of those things, all the things that you want your life to become of. You look for that in another person, and then you start to understand how they are doing that. You can talk to them if you can. If they are not somebody that is responsive, or they are in a very high place in their life, you can watch them from afar. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so we have another question in the chat box. This one is from Igbegaoluwa Ogundare Phillips. I'd like you have to understand somewhat to be able to give a response, so they don't go hand in hand.
Yeah, so like I said, listening is communication generally is more of listening to the person. And from what I said, like, you listen to understand what the person is saying. It's just like it's just simple as not cutting the person in when they are talking, like they're trying to make a point and you just go in with your own points. It's like, just let them say what they want to say, then you say what you have to say. Because when you listen to all that they have to say, you've thought about it, like from what they said, you can give like a more informed response to what you have to say.
Yes,
Hope that makes
I
sense.
feel that that makes sense. So do we have any other questions, or do I ask mine? Yes, Igbiga says that that's sufficient for him. Okay, my own question is that in what ways have communication helped you in your career so far?
Oh, in so many ways, from the technical to the soft skills part of my work life. um I mean, because my role, I do a lot of support for other teams. And while I was a junior, and being a junior is very hard, being a learner is very difficult, because I would be given responsibilities that a bit challenging, and it makes it even more difficult because it's time dependent. Like, you have to do this in like 4 hours, and I have no idea what to do. I have to read a bunch of documentations first before I can even start to do anything. And then a teammate has told me, okay, do this in the next 4 hours, and I have to tell them, communicate that, oh, I have no knowledge of this. It's going to take me more than 4 hours, and those things are difficult because it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like it's to your ego, like, I don't know this, and admitting that can be difficult. So I've had to, communicate that, oh, just see, like, learning. I had to differentiate learning from my ego and just be like, I don't know something, I don't know it. It does not mean I will not know it. And that's part of a growth mindset. So it's being able to just, put your ego aside, think about what you have to say, and just send that message that you have to send. Just think things through before you communicate them. I think that's like a very important part, because we tend to just say things off the bat. As it comes to your mind, you just say it. But thinking the things through, and you realize that sometimes you don't even have to communicate some things. It might just be clear already.
Thank you. So I'm just taking 2 points now. Think things through before I speak, and while listening, I should said. Thank you very much for these insights towards Seriki, and I think that's how far we can go with regards to questions. Do you have any words you'd like to say before we conclude this session?
Yeah, I'd just like to say this was very nice. I hope everybody learned as much as I did and enjoyed it as much as I did. And yeah, in terms of mentorship and just helping you in your journey, I'm open to that, to help as far as I can. So yeah, this was very nice. Thank you.
All right. We appreciate you very much, Ayo. And we do wish you well in whatever path you choose right after this point. So thank you very much.